Hi there, I'm Dr. Rizwan, your health coach, and welcome to the Health for a Lifetime podcast. In this episode, I will be sharing sane advice for men and women who are beginning their fitness journey. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Rizwan, and I help men and women build a sustainable, healthy lifestyle so that they can lose weight and have more energy without going on a diet or spending hours in the gym. Before becoming a full-time health coach, I used to be a family physician, and what I've learned during that time was that prevention is far more powerful than treating disease. So I've made it my mission to teach and support people on their way to living their healthiest and best lives ever. Now, a huge part of prevention revolves around physical activity, which includes training. So if you are just starting out or considering starting, then this podcast is going to give you a few key things to consider. But first, I want to share with you a little bit of my training background and how I started out. So I didn't start to train because I wanted to. I started because I had to. Back in 2010, I broke my wrist while riding my bike, and unfortunately, only after 6 months and seeing multiple doctors did one finally notice that my wrist was broken. Now, at that time, nobody wanted to do surgery anymore because they believed it had a slim chance of success. And during this time, I was in constant pain. I had to wear a wrist brace, which made everyday life very cumbersome. So I was prescribed pain medication and I was told I will never ride my bike again. And naturally, these recommendations did not sit well with me. And I came to the conclusion that if I'm going to be stuck with a weak wrist for the rest of my life, and if I ever want to ride again, then I have to find a way to strengthen it. So, not having any clue whatsoever about training, I started to do some research on the internet and I asked some friends that were going to the gym. And slowly, I started to piece together a routine, which honestly wasn't helping me at all at that time. And I was also finding it hard to stick to it. And after a year of struggling with this, things really took off for me. And I'll share what helped me most in just a minute. So, after 6 years of making training part of my everyday life, time in which I got rid of pain, I improved my fitness, and gained more confidence, I wanted to share the power of training with other people. And that is why, since 2016, I've been helping people train so that they too can experience better health and live life with more confidence. Now, over the years, I've had clients that lost weight and got to wear the clothes that they wanted to, clients that overcame aches and pains to make life fun again, and also clients who got off prescription medication, something they never thought they could ever achieve, simply by training consistently. So, what is the purpose of training? So, the purpose of training is to stimulate the body so that it gets stronger and it maintains its youthfulness and good health, thus preventing chronic disease. It's the opposite of being sedentary. And in today's world, it's very easy to be sedentary. If you have a desk job, you go to work by car, and then spend your free time on the couch, you're leading a sedentary lifestyle. So incorporating 1 or 2 training sessions per week will really help you overcome being sedentary and improve your health and prevent chronic disease. So the first key thing when you're starting out, the first thing to consider is to start easy. And what do I mean by that? It's important to keep your workouts short at first, 20, 30 minutes tops. There are a few advantages to doing this. First off, it's easy to find time to train and therefore build consistency. Secondly, you don't overstimulate your body and you will feel good afterwards as opposed to being sore and tired. That way, you are going to be encouraged to come back for more. And once you've noticed that you can handle 20, 30-minute workouts, well, only then increase the amount of time you spend training if your time permits. Secondly, learn to focus on the basics. And by that, I mean being able to do a proper squat, deadlift, a push-up, and a chin-up. Now, without getting too much into detail here, these are the four main movement patterns your body uses. Now, with these exercises, you are definitely going to cover them and they will really improve your fitness really fast. So beware because depending on how fit you are, these might not be the easiest exercises to start with. You might need a form of regression in order to learn how to perform them correctly. But point here is to keep them in focus, okay? The time you invest learning how to perform these exercises is going to be time well spent because these exercises are compound movements that are going to give you the best return on your time, and they are fundamental for a lifelong fitness journey. They will allow you to progress to more advanced exercises and add some variety to your training as you go along. So if you cannot do them, then make them a priority and make sure that whatever exercises you are currently doing are going to help you build up to these four main exercises. And this brings me to the third point, the thing that helped me most in my fitness journey, and that was to get a coach or at least a training program specifically designed for my goals. So as I said in the beginning, I started by piecing things together on my own and with very little success. Only when I got a coach and a proper training program did things take off. And this happened because I eliminated the guesswork. I was struggling. I was struggling to put something together, and I was always second guessing myself if I was doing the right thing or not. And naturally, when I did this, I didn't feel too motivated to spend time and put in the work. But with a solid plan in front of me, I felt that I had a recipe for success. All I had to do was show up and focus on the exact steps. That's it. And this was a huge relief for me. And as I kept showing up, I started to notice improvements, which further reinforced my motivation to train. So if you can find a coach with whom you resonate and uh, which you like, then work with him. That is the fastest and surest path to success. If you can't, for some reason, hire a coach, then at least get a training program suited for your goal. Now, a training program is something that takes you from A to B in a progressive way. And it usually takes some time, up to 3 to 6 months. So don't confuse this with a training plan, which is something you do during a week or a training session. Okay, so again, you have to have the bigger picture in mind, and that is why it's important to find a good program for you and stick to it for some time. And lastly, don't get caught up in the hype. Okay, so what do I mean by this? The fitness industry is, as in any industry, going to try and sell you something, whether it's equipment, membership, or a particular method. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. People in the industry need to make a living too. The problem arises when people get too hung up on a particular thing and start identifying themselves too much with it and end up glorifying a particular tool or method as being the end all be all thing. And here's what I mean by this. I'll just give you a personal example. There was a time when kettlebells were all the rage. And if you don't know what a kettlebell is, it's that ball with the handle thing. I'm absolutely certain you might have seen one in the gym or in the shop somewhere or on the internet. So the idea back then was that just being in the same room with a kettlebell made your whole entire life 200% better. And personally, I jumped on board with that idea. And to be honest, a kettlebell did significantly improve my life, but it wasn't a magic bullet. Ultimately, a kettlebell is just a tool that has its advantages and disadvantages. So if it fits your particular situation, great, use it. There are many training tools you can use. And what I recommend is to experiment and understand the advantages and disadvantages they have, and then leverage the most out of that particular tool without getting too hung up about it. Okay. So if you're starting out, I would recommend first mastering body weight before adding more weight in the form of a dumbbell, barbell, kettlebell, or machines, and so on. During your training journey, your life will most certainly change and you'll have to adapt your training to it. So for example, maybe you're training in the gym and then all of a sudden you cannot make it to the gym anymore. So you have to train at home. Obviously, the equipment that you have in the gym is not going to be the same that you have at home. Or, maybe it is if you have like a super well-equipped home gym, but chances are you don't. So you have to be able to adapt and get by with whatever you have at hand. So basically, having more tools in your toolbox is going to make it easier for you to adapt your training to life and life events, and thus stay consistent throughout the years. Same thing goes for training methods. So, for example, a lot of men, when they start training, they adopt a bodybuilder type of workout where they train muscle groups. You have one day where you train chest, then the back, then the legs, and so on. This is great, if you're into bodybuilding and if that's your goal. But unfortunately, this type of training takes up a lot of time. So unless you can train 4 to 5 times a week, then this is not going to be sustainable for you. And what I've noticed in my experience as a coach is that very few people want this type of training, yet you still see this pushed out in the media or by trainers who have a bodybuilding background. So coming back to the purpose of training, right? The goal is to stimulate the body to get stronger, maintain youthfulness and good health, thus preventing chronic disease. So as a beginner, you can achieve this by focusing on a few basic exercises using body weight at first, then moving on to different tools and methods as you progress along your journey. And at first, you don't need more than 20, 30-minute workouts. Look for coaches or programs that resonate with you and commit to them for at least 3 to 6 months. Lack of focus and second guessing is going to kill your progress. So commit, show up, and do your best. And lastly, beware of the hype. Ask yourself, how is this particular program, tool, or method going to help me? What are its advantages and disadvantages, and how can I leverage it best? So that does it for today's episode. If you like it, please help me spread the word and share it with a friend or family. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.